Hola, bienvenidos a DocuCraft. Bienvenidos a New Kind of Wilderness.
Why is it that we live differently and we don't go to school and stuff than other kids?
Well, I mean, I made a choice quite a few years ago when you were quite little.
A New Kind of Wilderness es un documental producido por la productora noruega A5 Film. Ganador y nominado en numerosos festivales internacionales, entre ellos el prestigioso Gran Premio del Jurado en Sundance 2024. Está dirigido por SILJE'S, Evensmo, Jacobsen y montado por Kristian Tveit y Christoffer Heie, dos editores con estilos distintos que junto a la directora lograron dar forma a una obra conmovedora y muy cuidada a nivel narrativo. El documental sigue a una familia que busca una existencia libre y salvaje en los bosques noruegos, pero un trágico giro de los acontecimientos rompe su aislamiento y los obliga a adaptarse a las exigencias de la sociedad contemporánea. Las escenas filmadas por SILJE'S mientras seguía el día a día de la familia aparecen como fragmentos breves que condensan una actividad o un estado emocional concreto. Son secuencias cortas, pero que siempre hacen avanzar la narración. Para acompañar los momentos más íntimos y emocionales, se utiliza la voz en off de María, la madre, procedente de un blog de texto, fotos y vídeo que ella misma mantenía para documentar su experiencia.
Mamma till 4, fotograf och väldigt glad i naturen.
La combinación de todos estos elementos no fue nada sencilla. Además, hay muchos protagonistas, cada uno enfrentando el mundo exterior a su manera, desconfiando de un sistema que no entienden o no comparten del todo. Y aunque me resulta difícil destacar solo algunas cosas, hay 3 aspectos que valoro especialmente desde el punto de vista del montaje. Punto número 1. El inicio. Para comentar este punto, me ayudo en una cita de Jacobsen de su libro Documentary Editing. The beginning of a film also establishes a template for what types of footage will be employed, and what relationship that material has with the viewer. You want to set expectations in a way that the rest of the film can deliver. Esto, aplicado en A New Kind of Wilderness, se traduce en que, en los primeros minutos de la película identificamos las 3 fuentes de material que establecen el tipo de lenguaje que va a dominar la película: el verité u observacional, la voz narradora y las fotos y el archivo. Además, se introduce un punto de giro que marca claramente el final del primer acto y el comienzo del segundo, el momento en el que los protagonistas deben afrontar las consecuencias del cambio. Punto número 2. El uso de la voz en off. La voz de María no solo contextualiza, sino que nos abre una ventana emocional directa a lo que viven los personajes. Es un excelente ejemplo de cómo un material de archivo íntimo y auténtico puede elevar la narrativa. Punto número 3. La estructura. El montaje consigue combinar la línea principal con las subtramas de cada miembro de la familia, que no son pocos. Cada uno gestiona el devenir de los acontecimientos a su manera, y el montaje respeta esa pluralidad sin perder ritmo ni claridad. El punto de giro inicial con la muerte de María abre la puerta al segundo acto, donde tenemos las varias subtramas que seguiremos hasta el final. Tener que vender la granja y buscar un trabajo, lo que lleva a Nick a cuestionarse sobre su capacidad para gestionar la familia solo. Las dificultades de adaptación de Freya, el dolor de RONJA y de cómo procesa la pérdida de la madre, el dilema de si mudarse a Inglaterra o quedarse en Noruega, la escolarización de unos hijos que por primera vez pisan instituciones oficiales, y un sinfín de matices que hacen que la película viaje como un tren hasta el final. Aquí es donde el equipo de montaje se ha dejado la piel. Conseguir una estructura coherente y equilibrada para ser fiel con los acontecimientos y los personajes. Es un documental con el que el espectador puede empatizar profundamente, porque el dolor, la pena, la rabia y la tristeza son universales. Y cuando estos elementos se combinan con una estructura narrativa sólida, donde se identifican claramente los 3 actos típicos de un arco narrativo, el resultado es una joya desde el punto de vista de montaje. Gracias a SILJE'S, Kristian y Christoffer por compartir sus reflexiones en la entrevista, porque han demostrado una sensibilidad y habilidad enormes en la sala de montaje. Como dice la propia SILJE'S, si esta película la hubiese montado otra persona, sería una película completamente diferente. Y por suerte, la montaron ellos.
Silje, I have read many things about the movie. Your interviews, I have watched the videos on YouTube, so I'm not gonna repeat the same questions. So
Good.
let's talk about editing. And the first question is, because you are three, is how did you manage the editing?
No, how did we manage? It took some time. It was actually a bit luck in unluck. I don't know if you can say that in English, but we can say it in Norwegian. But it was another editor who was supposed to be on the project, but he wasn't able to do it. So luckily we had Kristian in A5 Film at the moment, and I heard a lot of good things about Christoffer. But Christoffer couldn't be there for all the time, so we thought it was then we need to do both of them, and I think they really fulfilled one in each other, and it was the best team I could have on the film. But it wasn't intentionally planned that it should be so. It just worked out really well. But after a lot of struggling, I must say. But at the end, it was the best outcome that it could be.
So, did you felt the need to have two editors, or it was because the schedule of the film?
It was because a bit of the schedule, yes. And as well, we had waited for the other editor for a year. So we were really eager to get it done. And I remember when Christoffer left for another project after 3 months, both me and Kristian felt like a bit lost. And it also takes some time to work with a new editor, to find the rhythm and to find the project. And it was a difficult film to edit. It was really hard. And so when I felt Christoffer, we nailed it after 3 months, and we were like on the roll. And then he left, and we were like, oh my God, how are we going to continue? But I think we had laid a base for it. So me and Kristian worked with it for 4 more months. Was it something like that? So yeah, I think Kristian was in total for 6 months and Christoffer was for 3. Could that be like more or less?
Yeah, something like that. That maybe 7 months. I don't remember.
Okay. So how did you approach the editing? You had a script, or do you have all the film, all the footage film, or you were filming while editing?
Yes, we filmed some while editing, but mostly we had finished filming, and we were trying to, because a lot of the scenes were not like full scenes. It was a lot of like filmed here and there, and not knowing really where to go. And so it was kind of, we followed the script, but then when we saw the rough cut the first time, it didn't work at all. So we had to go many, and I remember Christoffer wanted maybe like more to the poetic side and using more of the blog, and didn't maybe feel like that we had the scenes to make the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Kristian on the other side, who were maybe more into forcing the scenes to tell the story wanted to say in some way. So I don't know, what do you say, Christoffer and Kristian? It's interesting to hear your from the beginning, because it was hard.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
we
it
had
definitely
some
was.
really good pieces. Yeah, I think we had some good pieces, and that I think we talked about before I got into the project. We talked about that you had maybe picked out and did this. Yeah, did you do some rough cuts or just put it out? I remember that we had like specific small scenes that were like bits and pieces that we thought were interesting, like sudden moments we were gonna work more with. So I think we managed to kind of, if you see the film as a puzzle, we had some really nice pieces, and we had to work more with those, but also how to connect those pieces to kind of make the story have a flow or whatever, going from one scene to another.
Mm-hmm.
And we had more or less four main characters and with Freya like being maybe the main character, but Nick was also main character. Ronja was the main character, and Maria, who passed away, was also a main character with her voice, and all of them had their development in it. So it was really in the beginning, who's going to talk first, and how are we going to develop the characters in between, and it need to be, it was all the emotional things, but you also need to follow the outer story as well. as the inner story of each character. So it was all this, and I think Christoffer was really, really good to make like work with Maria's voice and photos. We had struggled a bit with that just before when we saw it, and in a really nice way started to like establish how we could use it, and that took the form for the film. Like it started the film and the end of the film, and in between. So I think that was something that started really good, and then we just needed to see like the present story that we're going to follow, how this will be in between here, and how we could follow it when with hanging on to the story, but also having an emotional context and be emotional part of the story.
So how much different was the first script from the final cut? Because you said before that the first edit didn't work, the first cut.
I don't know if it was really different, but I think you had like it started with Maria, ended with Maria. But but everything that all the text we also chose from her was also different in the end what we used. And we had like they live on the farm, they move from the farm, they start to school, they go to England. We had all this like big, but how to nail it, and that was more like what needed to be, worked in, and also we had, for example, they started school 3 times. So how could we like show it in a right way and with not showing 3 times to go, because it would be really boring. So then we needed to edit it from the emotional of going to school, So yeah.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things we struggled with for a long time, because we tried to like tell the story in the like correct continuity, the right order of events, but that just felt kind of messy, and it didn't really work emotionally. So then we have to like abandon the continuity and just focus on where like the emotional right way to tell the story, and that's kind of when it started to fall into place.
The beginning and the end of the documentary is always the most difficult part. It happened to you, or it was just clear at the beginning?
I think we had the start pretty early on, or the idea of the start, because we were just working on how we could make her presence felt throughout the movie, and so we kind of felt that we had to start with establishing her and then just bringing her along, and then it was just trying to find a good scene to introduce the family as well when they go into the woods there in the beginning, and that kind of really embrace the mood and give a good introduction to the family. So I think the start was there, but I think the ending was a lot more difficult, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had a lot of different endings. I remember at one point it felt like the movie ended like 5 times. So that was like one of the things you had to clean up in the edit and try to figure out. I think we knew like sort of where we wanted the story to end, but how to get there was more of a struggle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think also because I just remember we had like how we're gonna put this all together, but I remember that I knew from the beginning, because when I looked all through all her photos and videos, when I noticed her going through the woods, filming herself, closing her eyes to listen to the birds, I knew this would be the opening and would be the end. But I think it was you, Christoffer, who came quite early, I think, with the beginning and that really worked for me. I don't know, I came into the editing room and it was like, okay, this works, because it was really emotional to see it. And when you get emotional to see your own like footage, then you know that it works somehow. And it was more, she had so many good texts, so it was to find the right ending of a text. So we mixed that a bit, but I think you set the base for the beginning and the end really early, actually, like after just working for a month or something.
Yeah.
So this was kind of different.
Yeah, might have done a little bit of that. Yeah. Yeah.
But we had so many struggles, so it was really nice to come in and just to see that her photos and stories worked, because I could be like, okay, we need to just throw it away, and the NRK, the national broadcaster, said, why do we need her photos and stories? This is not important at all. And I think for me this was the most best thing about the project. This was the most like we needed to have it in, but we needed to do it that it felt right.
So Kristian and Christoffer, did you edit like the characters by in a separated ways, or you were just mixing all of them from the beginning?
We tried that at the start because I remember Christoffer started with like the first part of the movie where they were still at the old farm. And then I started to edit all of RONJA's scenes. But the problem there was that her story on itself didn't really have that, didn't develop that organically. So we had to like, figure out how to intertwine her story into the story with the others. But other than that, I think we didn't really separate each of the characters in the family on the farm, but it was more RONJA by herself and then figuring out where to add her into the story with the others.
Yeah, and then I think that some of the scenes just kind of it showed up in the scene who the main character in the scene was, so it was really clear to us, like this is Freya's scene and this is Nick's, and just to kind of figuring out when to show those scenes, where to put them in the narrative, and yeah, and then just trying to connect it all with Maria's voice, either commenting on what we have seen or commenting on something that we're about to see, or giving it another perspective.
So another scene that I find brilliant is when Nick is in England and his father asks him, how about finding a new woman, a new partner? And you cut him running away, going to the to do the farming, no? How it came? I mean...
Well, it was out of necessity because we didn't have the picture. I mean, that's the honest answer, but I think we made it work.
It's actually a style and something that I do that in some moments where I feel like we have a lot of... In England, it was because the photographer, it was during COVID, and the photographer went away in the wrong moment. But honestly, sometimes you have these really emotional moments, and sometimes I go away. It's not that I don't continue filming, but I can film other like things so they don't feel so like trapped with the camera. And then I often experience that their conversation does really develop or go into something really deep. And I think in A New Kind of Wilderness, it really works. You can see it when you have established, and then you go to the emotional, and you can see balloons in the garden, or you see you see him working, and you feel like you're inside of him in his mind and everything. And I think they do it more in fiction, and I think that's what we try to do as well. It was important to keep it, and I don't know if maybe it would be better to have it on, but it gives some emotional context by having it off as well.
And what about the music? Did you use temp music or before while editing? And then you make all the music on purpose for the film?
Yeah, we used
yeah, you go. Yeah, we used a lot of temp music. I always try to do that in the editing, kind of trying to find the right moods and to test out different moods and stuff like that. And, yeah, I don't know how it was when you...
Yeah, we started working with Composer probably like halfway through the edit. Started to send him scenes, and then he sent us things back with his take, and then we went a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
But
he's a great composer. He's kind of a storyteller himself, and he actually doesn't listen to the temp music.
Okay.
We try to talk a lot, and sometimes it's hard because then something comes back with really different music, and then we need to like adjust and sometimes if we just get used to it, it really works. So he just wants to talk about the film and to see the film. He doesn't want the temp music because then he can't be the creator he wants to be.
Was he working while you were editing, or he started working when the film was done?
We started working while editing, yes.
Okay. So and Kristian and Christoffer, so you are what kind of editor you are. I mean, if you have all the footage from one sequence and you try to edit fast to show Silje to see how it works, or you take your time just to make it properly work, just like a finish cut of the scene?
A little bit of both, probably. But I've worked so much with Silje, so I don't really feel like it's. I feel like it's very safe to show her things. So I don't think I spent that much time before I include her. I don't know how it sits with you, Christoffer.
Yeah, I think in this project it was the first time I was working with Silje, and normally I really like to kind of do a lot and kind of work a lot with the scene and maybe use some temp music and just to kind of show Silje what I think the material could be like, or what potential is in the material. So I think I might been some periods of time where I just kind of held back a little bit and waited, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready. And she would come in and maybe
I
watch
was
a
coming in
longer
and say,
sequence.
"Hello, how are you?" He was like, "Fine." Like, okay, bye. Do you have anything to show me? Soon. Okay. He was really mysterious and secretive until it came up.
So, Silje, are you the kind of director that wants to be there in the editing room, or you let the editors work?
I like them to work. Yes, I think I have amazing editors that's really storytellers myself, and I think that's safe for me as well, that they can contribute in their way. So, but of course, after a while, I want to be there and work on it. But in the beginning, I think it's really important that they get their space and that they can. And I know that they need to own the project. They need to own the story, and they need to fight with me when they believe in something. And that's when I know they're right for the project. And yeah.
Were you editing in the same facilities?
Yes.
Ah, okay. So you were jumping from edit room to edit room.
Yeah,
Silje.
more or less, I guess. But in the beginning, I guess I was more with Christoffer because he was going to be there for such a short time, and Kristian was trying, like he said, to just edit the scenes with Ronja, and I think you just edit scenes more quickly in the beginning, and then when you took over the whole project, then I was more with Kristian then. So and I work with other things at the same time, so it's not just I go around them like in circles.
So there is a scene or sequence that you struggled so much?
Yeah, I think
Many.
many of them. I think the one that stands out is figuring out how the whole school storyline and how to tell that. Basically, after they arrive at the new house, how do we like take the story forward from there? Because we knew we want them to go to England at some point, but everything that happens in between them moving and going to England was a bit up in the air, and we tried a bunch of different structures there, and just felt like nothing ever worked. But then at some point it just clicked.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought in the beginning that I had a hard time seeing how we could integrate Ronja into the story, because her story is kind of a bit on the side because she's not living with the family. So it was actually good for me just to focus on the rest of the family, and then Kristian was working with Ronja in the beginning, and at the end he kind of figured out a good way how to get Ronja more involved in the story, and yeah, going back and forth between those two stories as well.
Yeah, that was very
I
difficult
think,
because they never talk about Ronja in the scenes when they're alone at the farm, so there was never really like a natural point to cut to her story and to basically start her story.
But it feels, watching the film, it feels so natural. I mean, Ronja, it plays almost the role of the mother, so who comes like a external element to complete all the family. No, it's like to me, it's like a excuse me, it's like a more a reflection time. No, because you see Nix and the kids doing things in the woods, or Nick struggling. So you have the dramatic arc over there, no? Struggling, I have to sell the farm. We should go to England or not. The kids they don't want to go to school, especially Freya. But I feel it's like Ronja and the mother. It both are like they're complementing all the family, no? And it feels so natural. So congratulations. I mean, if you struggle so much, but it feels so natural in the film now.
That's good. And it's kind of funny because we had the one editor at the end because we're gonna have like an hour version of it, and she took it without me saying anything, and I just watched it and cut it down to 1 hour, and then she came back and then she took all the Ronja story from the story was away, and I like, but you can't tell the story without Ronja, and that was for us as well. We can't tell the story. Ronja needs to be in it because that's the reality of it. They lost their big sister, in a way. And so I just needed to go through the whole film and just put out everything I could because we needed to have Ronja in it. But I understand her as well because it was easiest to just take away all her story and then the other one, but we couldn't do it. We needed Ronja, but it was hard to put her in a natural and good way.
But it is so beautiful, the relationship between the two sisters. It's so beautiful.
And for her as well, for Ronja, when thinking about, she never told those things before, the things we have, and we also put in things in the film that was her story, like she felt outside of the family on the farm because she wasn't as perfect child as Freya, and she had really bad conscience, and she tells out loud that she's jealous on her younger sister, and that was things that for her it was also, it's nice to show the documentary can also be, for her it was a way to tell her sister, I'm sorry. So that's why she wanted that, and she was so, we were afraid that she didn't want to have the pieces in the film because it was so personal, but she was, this is me, and I really want to tell Freya these things, but now I can do it through the film.
What do you think an editor is important in a documentary or fiction? Do you think the role of the editor is, why is so important? And
you can go first, boys.
I think in documentary, I think it's extremely important because you have to have this kind of eye for making the scenes. I edit both fiction and documentary a lot. I switch a lot back and forth. And the thing about documentaries, I always say that with your editing fiction, you have a big puzzle with all the pieces, and you have to put the pieces together to make the puzzle. When you're editing a documentary, you have to make all the pieces first, and then you can put it together. So it's like creating everything even more from scratch in a way, and you have to have that eye and idea about how things are connected and how you can put things together to give it more meaning. So I think in documentary, I think the editing is extremely important.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's, especially documentary, I think it's easy to just see the material and not really be able to see the potential and see how you're going to be able to tell a story with just a rolling camera, I guess. But I think with experience and knowledge of editing, then you see much clearer all the opportunities that's actually there.
Yeah, and for me, if it was another editor on this project, it would be a totally different film. You know, even if I was the director, because for me, the editor is the most important person alongside of me, because, you know, the way I work with editors in documentary, they come in with their own like seed, and we can turn the whole film around, you know. And because I never have a script that the film will gonna be like this, because when we edit my script, it doesn't work, never. So for me, it's really vulnerable. I think it's really hard to start with new editors because I never know if we're gonna work together like well and find the rhythm and everything. And it's the most important thing much more important than photographers and everything. So yeah.
Sometimes the director has a vision for a scene or for the whole film, and you kind of have to understand that vision. And sometimes it's like you're editing and the director comes in and not like that, I want it more like this, and you say why, and they tell you why, and you're like, oh, so that's what you want to tell. Then I have an idea.
Yeah.
I think we have to do it like this to show what you want to tell. So that's the way we work well together with the director, I think.
Yeah, I think it's very important to try to like look for what is the intention when you watch the material for the first time, and sort of have that in the back of your mind, because that makes it a lot easier to make the first cut if you know that at least somehow what was the intention.
So now a question less general. I mean, how do you take notes of the footage? I mean, you go through all the dailies and take notes by hand, or and based on what? On the emotion, or you want the scene to work out because you need that character who didn't show up before?
The way I always start is I always read what it says in the script, and that's kind of how I know what Silje's intention is with the scene, what she wants it to tell. And then I watched all the raw footage. Then I make a sequence with a selection where I put everything that I think could be something. And the first selection is very rough. I pretty much pick everything that I think can be used. Then I make a new selection where I try to make it more specific to what I think the scene is about.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same for me. Trying to figure out beforehand what the director wants with the scene, and if it's kind of open, it's open for interpretation. From my side, it's just the same. I just the same as Kristian. Just watch all the material and just kind of remove what I don't think is interesting, and I'm left with a sequence with all the little things. And I think in that process, it's very important to be open to another way of telling the scene, or to be very open for the little details that tell something else, or so you have to be very awake when you're doing that. And I heard it was actually but that's another thing, the editor, I can't remember her name, the David Lynch's editor, she said that she always had a sequence which she called Firewood, where she just took out things she thought was interesting, but she didn't know where to put it. And then I think also it's important to have a really good recollection of what you've seen, so a good picture memory.
And you, Silje, of course you were behind the camera, but you watch again all the footage in the edit room?
Yeah, more or less. I try to, and also I mark where I see some nice things, and also because when we go back and is this something? Does she say anything? Oh, I remember, something, because I really, after filming, I really forget if I don't write everything down at once. But I don't see everything. So sometimes I trust the editors as well. And honestly, sometimes Wolfie's first day at school, I remember that was really nice, but we were like, oh, we don't know, we cannot have one more day at starting school. And I'm so happy that Christoffer, okay, I'm going to try without saying, and then he edited. I'm like, of course this, but if I had the wrong editor, then this wouldn't be in it, because I would be like, okay, I trust you. And, so sometimes it's sometimes I know the scenes that are going to be in the film, but sometimes I'm really dependent on the editors to be awake and to see and maybe to try, because that has also been a really nice scene and an important sequence in the film.
Are you were using the same editing system? You were using also, Silje, the editing system to make your markers and notes?
Yeah.
What platform were you using?
Premiere. Yeah. But I don't know if you use so much what I mark, or did you see ever what I marked? Do you remember?
Yeah, some scenes we did.
So maybe
didn't we also have some?
But you also had made a lot of notes
Yeah, all
So-
the text-based.
Yeah.
It was text-based. I
Yeah.
think a lot of it.
And
Mm.
yeah, all like interviews and all like very like dialogue based were all transcribed, so we use that a lot as well.
Yeah, and I try to, what I really want to do with everything, I try to look and then write down what I see. This can be interesting and this can be, and then we go back and see and just to remember what I wrote. And so yeah, I use a lot of text as well.
Okay, super. So do you have an idea of what do you want from this scene before? Let's say that, right? So you can tell the editors, let's try to focus on that, on this thing or that.
Yeah, or more to go back and to see what did I think about when I saw it, or how did I, and just to remember what we really easily forget when we edit, the first thoughts, ideas, and what I was thinking when I was shooting it. And what we also do when we have the rough cut, we take like a photo of each scene, like the key photo. We only take one, and then we put it all together, and we use like visual when we start swapping. What happens if we take this scene here, but then we work really visual and with like a photo of each scene, and then if we throw the scene away, we throw the photo away, and you need to find like the right photo. What's the key photo for the scene as well? So you can't have like 3 photos from a scene, if you know what I mean. So that's also something we do.
There was one scene what it was very painful to.
Yeah, there were several. I have one that I really liked that we had to cut away, where they were out camping. And we used that scene to tell that Nick decided that, okay, we will stay in Norway. But then, as I said earlier, it felt like the movie ended like 5 times. And that was one of the times where it felt like it ended. Then we saw that we could tell this by just having him say it when they're flying kites.
Yeah, and calling his dad.
Yeah, so we didn't really need that scene. It didn't add anything to the bigger picture. So then we had to take it away. But I know also there's another scene that Silje really loved at Freya's birthday. That she tried to get back in the movie many times.
Yeah. And because it's quite hard edited, it doesn't allow the scenes to evolve, and it's really on to the point, and then we move on. And yeah, so and sometimes I think, okay, we could probably stay more with them, but as well it works, and but it's it's the balance between not taking away too much, so it will be too rough, and so
yeah, we just have to be strict and feel like, do we add anything to the story now, or are we just dwelling? And if we're just dwelling, then we have to take away.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it's when they went to school, it's just this part you get all to those really nerdy details, and it was this part we were making a teaser afterwards, and the guy making the teaser said, "Oh, but I want to have Nick when he's more like saying something more in the car on the way to the school, like laughing." It was like 5 seconds more. And I saw it and like, oh, we need to put this in the film as well. And then we took it off and we edited it back and we put it in. And I saw it on the big screen afterwards. So happy that I've done it. And like, I know what Kristian meant. I know why he took it away. Because even though it was nice, the point when he went out, it works better because it's more flowy and we just said what needed to be said. And just realizing the 5 seconds didn't do, and it wasn't. It works still, and it floats well still, but we didn't need it actually. Okay. So it's all these decisions, like timing, and that's why I trust them, because they feel it in a way.
Let's go for the final questions. Did you expect going for Sundance?
Yes, no, no. We were. No, we were laughing about it. We were making jokes because, expecting to go to Sundance is too cocky and it's too, and we were so blind on the film, and we had many different, and it was like this Norwegian festival who said, no, you can't go in the main competition, you will be in a side arts program. And then we were like, okay, but we can't get into this festival. How on earth, why should we put it on Sundance? No, we didn't expect it. So I think getting into Sundance has been the most amazing part of all this, because winning Sundance was crazy, but just coming in there was something that we've always been dreaming about, and we didn't. I don't know, and it was rough times with the editing as well. So I wasn't sure about the film, how it was at the end, even though somebody said it was amazing. So no, we didn't.
So Kristian and Christoffer, did you have the feeling while editing that it was like the film will become this big?
No, I mean, it went back and forth. At times I felt like I know there's a really good movie here somewhere, but it was just a struggle to find it. In the end, I felt very good about the movie, but I didn't expect it to have the reach that it has had. But I felt it was a good movie, but I didn't expect Sundance and everything.
Yeah, me too. I don't think I expected it, but I felt that I really felt those moments when we kind of hit the right tone of the movie, kind of set the tone of the feeling of connecting with nature, for example, or the kind of more emotional things with Maria and how the way it integrates with the story. I think I felt that we had some really, really good things, but you never know, and it was difficult to leave the project before it was all the way done. But they did an amazing job afterwards.
Super. How was the relationship with the producers? Did you make a lot of screenings before the final cut?
Yeah, I'm basically a producer myself, so I'm just deciding myself what we're going to do. I like to have a lot of feedback. And the other producer, she's also director. She doesn't like that much feedback as I do. I really need a lot because I take every word so personal. So I need a lot. So I know that they believe different things, and then I can. And by getting a lot of feedback, I can find out what I mean myself. It's maybe sounds weird, but I like it, and I think it's really hard when you get the bad feedback, but you just need one day and then you can pick it out together. And what do they really mean? Why is this a problem? And so yeah, I maybe I take too much feedback, Kristian. What do you think?
Yeah, at times, and I think you have a tendency to try to please everyone and take all the feedback you get seriously.
Yeah.
But I think it's just important to remember what you actually feel yourself and trust your own gut feeling. And I think we had a lot of talks on that topic at times after we had some bad feedback. But no, I think you have your process, and I think it works pretty good. So,
Christoffer, Kristian, Silje, thank you very much. I mean, I would like to talk more about editing, but I have more than enough to make this work.
Thank you. It was nice to talk to you and to talk to you because the editing in the film has been amazing, and I'm really happy when people can see. You can say it's a simple film, but it's not simply made. It's really hard to tell the story in this way, and I'm really happy when people acknowledge and see it.
It's what I said before. It looks simple, but being also an editor, while I was watching the film, I was thinking, oh, this was very difficult because of these characters. I mean, it's like you said, no, it's these little sequences that tell you at the same time very little. So the action is very little, but they are telling you so much about the family, but that they are so many. And you think, okay, so a lot of sequences, a lot of characters. There is a super arc for every character, so this is gonna be I think. I mean, suddenly I thought these guys they work very hard to keep
they did
this film. So thank you for this wonderful film and for your time again, and hopefully see you your next work soon.
Nice to talk to you.
Thank you everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.